Not going to lie, I think it's very cringe, but this personal statement got me into Cambridge Maths as well as into Imperial and Warwick. And the personal statement is a big part of the application process to study at British universities. So I thought I should share it with you guys. And I will read it and react to the things that I said. It's been almost 9 years since I wrote it, so obviously a lot of things have changed. But I was surprisingly right at a few things. And if you stay long enough into this video, I will also share my best tips on writing personal statements for mathematics, having been on the other side of application panels to select undergraduates to study maths at Cambridge, because for now I'm finishing my PhD, so I've actually interviewed students that were in the position that I was 8 years ago when I was applying. And of course, for that part of the application process and selecting students, we take a look at the personal statement. And you might be surprised at how it's our experience for interviewers when we read the personal statement. So stay for that. Okay. So yeah. Also, I should say, if you cannot tell, I'm not. British is not my first language, so I was writing that from coming from high school in Spain, where I didn't have any specific preparation to write personal statements, especially in English. My English is much better now, so there's definitely a lot of things that I wouldn't write the way they are now, but it worked. Okay, most people of my age will tell you they do not like mathematics. They do not understand why I spend my time on it and how it is that I love it. For the latter, I shall say that I cannot avoid it, and for the first, I believe it is because mathematics is both my escape from the world and my window to it. I am an introvert person. I might seem quiet, but my mind is always thinking, probably about mathematics. The so called Queen of Sciences is also beautiful, like an art, and profound like philosophy. It amazes me. Starting with a few simple axioms, we can prove, only by the use of logic, infinitely many things, even that some statements cannot be proved. About proving is Fermat's last theorem by Shine, one of the best books about pure mathematics I have ever read. It provided me with an insight into the lives and works of mathematicians and made me realize I wanted to become one. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stop there. Obviously, the first part is kind of like an introduction, and then the second part is talking about pure maths, because at the time I didn't know whether I would prefer pure maths at university or applied maths. So I was kind of just taking all the boxes, and I think that was good. Obviously, maybe I wouldn't write it the way I did, but that's not too cringe. But yeah, I think the cringe part starts now. I have always been very good at school, but that is not enough for me. I have found my own ways of satisfying my thirst of knowledge. I learn by myself about different areas of mathematics like number theory, and I enjoy challenging myself with papers of the Olympiads. I am determined to study at a top tier university, so this summer I started preparing for advanced examinations like a step. The Spanish syllabus is quite different, and I have personal tuition to ensure that my knowledge is as broad as possible. Yeah, I think this raises a good point, especially for international applicants like myself, and I know a lot of you guys are. Um, that, of course, you kind of need to be aware that the interviewers might be expecting that you know certain parts of the curriculum, but from my experience having interviewed international students, we are aware that it's not always the same. So it's if you tell us in the personal statement what you're covering, and you are aware that you will have to prepare a step, then that is good enough for us, and it's fine. If you tell us like, oh, I haven't learned this part yet at the interview, but it's good to mention it in the personal statement. And also, like, if you have any experience with mathematics Olympiads, then of course do say that in the personal statement. But I get asked this a lot of times, and it's not needed. I didn't have it, and I mean, I said I enjoy challenging myself with papers of the Olympiads. I'm not sure if I enjoyed it or I was just doing it because I thought I had to, but I didn't actually need to. But I mean, if you actually enjoy it, then of course, do it and say it. Okay, so that was just a slightly weird paragraph, but let us continue with the like technical part. On the other hand, as I said above, mathematics is my way of thinking about the world. Taking physics and chemistry has given me reasoning skills and a fair idea of what it is like to apply it to nature. I also enjoy doing so in biology, where it is possible to deduce formulae to describe processes like the Mendelian inheritance or natural selection. And I am very keen on the use of algorithms to decode the genome. I'm also taking technical drawing lessons, which gives me a different approach to mathematical concepts, such as projective geometry, as well as a three dimensional vision. Dimensionality is one of the most interesting concepts of mathematics. The idea of higher dimensions is well exemplified in Flatland from Abbott and has several applications beyond pure mathematics. General relativity describes a four-dimensional curve of spacetime, whereas particle physics is on the lookout for signs of forces and particles from higher dimensions. Moreover, it was not until I read The Fractal Objects by Mandelbrot that I realized dimensions can also be fractions. Coming back to genomics, I often think of DNA as a fractal. I have found a couple of articles suggesting that the sequences of bases of bacterial and mitochondrial DNA have self similarity, but I would like to research further on this, for I believe that we could reach outstanding achievements studying life mathematically. Okay, that was a heavy paragraph. Um, I recall, the idea behind this paragraph for me was justify all the subjects that I had to study at a school in Spain where I couldn't just do maths, further maths, physics, computer science, or something like that, like most future mathematicians do in the UK. So I was just trying to, uh, yeah, justify that and make it seem that it was actually useful. Of course, if these names might be like technical drawing. That's a thing that engineers do, and kind of had to do that in school. It was actually fun. And yeah, the biology part, I think that was definitely a bit too much. But it's actually interesting because now I'm a mathematical biologist, and um, I kind of was already thinking about those things here, even though it was probably nothing serious back then. But that's the time for that's the thing for a different video. Anyway, so now to the final paragraphs. Here is where yeah, you kind of start transitioning to well, yeah, you've said that you like maths and you've kind of justified why you think you're a good fit for it, but kind of at some point in the personal statement, you should say, well, what you plan on doing if you know, but it's fine if you don't know yet. So I said, I would like to study theoretical physics to its farther extent and try to discover the origins of the universe. I have great interest in applied mathematics, and I am extremely eager to study subjects like mathematical biology at university. I believe in the great importance that mathematics has not only in science, but in every aspect of our society, and in its utility to make the world a better place. Um, this paragraph, it actually really impressive that um, I wrote that um, 9 years ago. Obviously, everyone can write it, and I'm not saying that it was good that I wrote it back then, but I was surprisingly right that I ended up doing a lot of theoretical physics at university. Like my master's was basically just theoretical physics, like general relativity, quantum field theory, cosmology, all this stuff that I talked about. And I turned out to be an applied mathematician. I did mention pure maths at the start of the personal statement, but I did really enjoy applied mathematics, and obviously I took the courses that I could in mathematical biology and started doing research on that, and now I almost have a PhD on that. Very soon I will have it. So I was actually right, and I don't think I truly believe back then like all the utility or like the usefulness of mathematics to make the world a better place, but um, it's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of chose to do the area of mathematical biology that I do, which, if you're wondering, I do infectious disease modeling. But again, that's a topic for a different video. But yeah, you don't have to say. I mean, you can say things like that if you know of a specific area that you want to specialize in. But we might ask you about that on the interview if we read that on your personal statement. So be prepared to have something to say. And I think, luckily, I was very broad in what I said here, that I didn't say anything specific enough that I will get asked. I don't think I got asked anything about that on the interview. But yeah, anyways, like a common theme of how we use the personal statement is to ask some questions in the interview. So I do remember getting asked about Flatlam, or maybe one of the other books that I mentioned, um, in my own interview. But in general, I think it's obviously like the interviewers are curious to see, like, check that you've actually written your personal statement and not your teacher from a school or whatever. But it's also just a good way for them to ask you an easy question, just to break the ice that, we might not, as interviewers, we're definitely mostly interested in your mathematical ability, and we will, of course, ask you um, math questions, and that's really what we care about in the interview. But the personal statement gives us a starting point of questions that you might have prepared that might make you less nervous. So we actually do it for you, and we might not care that much about what you say unless you say something that is completely wrong, or that shows that you lied on the personal statement, or that you didn't write it, or whatever. So just write something that you actually like. You've actually read the book and you've enjoyed it. If you do mention a book. Okay, so now on to the most important part. Um, Sorry, not the most important part, the last important part in a way, is these two lines for Cambridge, like extracurriculars, things that are not really related to mathematics. I was told that I should just write that because other universities might look for it, but not so much in Oxbridge. Um, so here's what I said. I practice artistic roller skating 5 days a week, so I am used to competitive environments. It requires a lot of time, hence it has improved my self-discipline and organization skills. So that was actually true. But now looking back at it, it wasn't that much time. Now that I do other sports and I got into rowing at university, and yeah. But you just kind of, you might want to say some couple of lines like that, just to show that you're a well-rounded person. But things that you actually do and like, and don't, um, that don't worry so much about what you say there. Um, so final part, more about the future. Probably in the future, I would like to study for a PhD, which of course, I ended up doing, and become a university lecturer. We will have to wait for that. While being involved in research projects. Yeah, that's kind of what you do if you do a PhD, or, most professors do. But, anyways, I said that I was interested in research. Or perhaps work in a STEM company. STEM company, that's very broad, but who cares? Doesn't really matter what you say there. My goals are ambitious, but I believe I have the potential to achieve them. I am certainly able to pursue my dream of studying mathematics. Yeah, that's a bit pretentious, but um, well, um, I'm convinced that anything that you write in the personal statement, you're gonna look back at it and um, feel slightly embarrassed. Like, even 1 year after I wrote it, when I was already at university, um, it already felt cringe. And of course, the longer it goes, um, the weirder it seems. But um, I think it did the job, and I got into four of the five universities that I applied to, and the ones that I care the most about. And of course, it's now a good chance to have a good laugh about the personal statement. Um, but I think, and you can maybe tell from the comments that I've been making, like, my experience now, having seen the system from the inside, is that doesn't matter that much for Cambridge or Oxford, because we have the interview. If you're applying to the universities where they have to offer you a place based on your predicted grades, the letter from your referee from your school, and your personal statement, then it might matter most, the personal statement, but for us, like, I don't think, unless there's a huge red flag, I don't think we will, like, not invite you for an interview because of the personal statement. Like, if we don't invite you for an interview, it might be because we just don't think your grades are good enough, or that you're a good fit for the course or for the university. But I really doubt that um, this would hinder your chances of getting an interview, like whatever you say. And like, I don't know if it's the case in all colleges, but like, the first kind of selection of who gets invited to the interview might not even be done by the interviewers that you will have later. So it might just be the tutorial office, like the admissions office in the college, that um, might, read through the personal statement, check that everything checks the boxes and you haven't said anything weird. Like, I mean, what I said, it was weird, but you haven't said anything wrong, um, like a red flag, that you haven't lied, and then, you've put in some of an effort to write the personal statement. But, I've heard crazy stories of people just submitting like one line saying, oh, like, I won a gold medal from the International Maths Olympiad. And that's like the whole personal statement, and they got invited. So I don't know if that's actually true, but that was a rumor back there. So in summary, my advice is, like, don't overthink it. I've shared the personal statement because, like, it's very requested on my comments, but I don't think it's that important. So there are definitely more important things like the interview, and if you'd like to see a video about the interview, then please let me know in the comments, and like, subscribe.